Probably.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, we're fine. We're exactly where we're supposed
What
to
happened
be.
to Suni?
She's right there.
She's here.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. So we're going to start the meeting. I'm Catherine Hebert. I'm the chair. And according to this, we have to stand up and do a Pledge of Allegiance. So however you guys do it, Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So I'll give very brief chairman remarks because we have two guests, two of our department heads and assistants who are joining us tonight. And I want to give them some time to interact and introduce. So let's see real quickly. Sean Chang did resign. His reason is he has a couple of jobs and he also is on several nonprofit boards and his wife is expecting a baby. So yeah, so that's a lot. We all know what it's like to have children. Well, most of us, it's hard to do a lot at the same time. When I spoke to the first selectman, the board was actually organized and approved with 7 members originally, and then they added, I don't believe as approval, the other 3 because they thought there was so much to do. So we really are a commission of 7, which is more acceptable and typical of commissions, boards, and authorities in government. We can add additional people, but they would just be non-voting members. So we have that list of volunteers when the time comes. I did get some feedback from not necessarily people in the town or people I've been interacting with over the last few months, but there was an expectation that this board already had a vision, that it was created with a to-do list and all of that. Well, no, that's not really exactly true. It was created and it's our job it's an opportunity to create that vision and create that path, and it's a great opportunity to do that and to be the advocate, the partner, forge our own path to sustainability and engage the public and communicate. So I just want to, I always repeat myself on every meeting because that's something that's really important to keep in mind, that we're here to help the town, to advocate, and in government, the wheels of government move a little slower than the private sector. So that's how that works. The other bigger part is that we are looking at, let me see here, just a second. We talked about sustainability as something that's not just 1 or 2 things, it's bigger than that. And we'll talk about that a little later. As you know, I've been meeting with several groups around the town. So to engage them with what about sustainability and about our commission. Since the last meeting, I did meet with Eric Swenson, who is Director of Public Works for the town. It was a great meeting. It went on for like an hour and a half, and that was awesome. The town has really awesome people working for them, and I applaud you all, and we're all looking forward to hearing from you. So we also met with one of my long-term colleagues, Daphne Dixon, who is the founder of Live Green and recently became the director of the Energy Vehicle Coalition for Southwest Connecticut. Her organization covers Fairfield County and Litchfield County, and now she focuses on advancing electric school buses, electric police vehicles, and EV charging zoning regulations, which is something that kind of perked my ears up because that I think is a lot more doable than electrifying the fleet all over the place, because there's a big capital expense. I mean, it's a process, but it's something that is really doable. Her and I know each other for about 15 years when Live Green was a big presence in Norwalk and worked on quite a few initiatives. So I think it was 2 weeks ago, Peter, right? We went, they have Live Green. She has monthly meetings, the second Tuesday of every month. She also has a bunch of toolkits that she shares and educates different municipalities and nonprofits all over the state, specifically again in Fairfield County and Litchfield County, and workshops. And those are, she has a partnership with Sustainable. So a lot of what she does ties back into Sustainable Connecticut for those points and everything else. So Peter and I went to her monthly meeting 2 weeks ago. It was the annual awards ceremony, and Bethel received a certification of recognition, which I have here, and I'm going to give that to Donna to give to the first selectman to hang, because Bethel is recognized as doing quite a bit, even though, you know, we're starting out. So that was really awesome. I will invite her to come here to be a speaker as well. I also spent some time meeting with some of the smaller towns that have certification as opposed to the bigger ones, because you know, I wanted to compare how they got there, and they're similar size to Norwalk, Bethel, as opposed to Norwalk, which is a bigger city. And I had a really good conversation with Tammy Thornton, who is director of Wilton Go Green. So their certification was done through a nonprofit. Her biggest hurdle was actually having access to the town of Wilton, because she's not within the government structure. She's a nonprofit, so it was a lot of very difficult. So as opposed to us, Sustainable Bethel, we've been approved by resolution by the first selectman, by the selectmen as a commission. So that challenge is not there, other than working and partnering with everybody. Let's see if there's anything else. And then we'll get to later on in the agenda, the bylaws and the strategic plan. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Why did you send the August 4th minutes?
Did I send the wrong minutes?
Well, I got August 4th
Oops,
minutes.
I did. Well, I don't have the other minutes, sorry.
You don't have an answer.
No, I don't. But that we're not.
Did you guys vote on the last
No, we couldn't vote on the
minutes?
October minutes, but that was sent, I sent the wrong minutes. But those were sent to you several times in the past several months.
No, I know.
September need to be approved too.
No, September was approved, but October wasn't, I guess.
I just happened to look at it on the way over just to
Yeah, so
refresh
if
my
we
memory.
can't approve them, we can't approve them. We'll approve them next time.
Okay,
Oh, we can't.
But no, you
approve
can't,
them?
we can't, we have a quorum.
you're talking about
We
November.
have a quorum, but I sent them by mistake.
Try not to do that again.
Yeah, if someone
So
can
you're
like
not
reduce
okay?
my salary here. What?
You're not okay approving them because we don't have
If
a
you've
hard
seen
copy?
them, because they've been sent to you several times, they weren't in the packet, I'm okay approving
I've
them
seen
because we
them.
have a quorum.
I was gonna say, I think we should.
I think we
Yeah.
should too. Okay, so
Okay.
when the time comes, because it's after, I want to give them the floor. So without further ado, I want to introduce Janice. I cannot say your name for the life of me, and I really apologize.
That's okay. Janice C is fine. It's Christianic, but Janice C is fine.
And Janice is the Director of Economic and Economic Development. And David McCollum is the Assistant Director for Planning and Zoning. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, yes,
You
you
don't
are.
think that, right?
Janice, would you mind just, so I know who you are, to give me your name?
Me, Janice Christianic.
Not so bad. Could you spell it?
Well,
Yeah,
it's
sure. It's CHR,
Right.
Z as in zebra, E, S as in Sam, CIJANEK.
Got it.
Now we just prolong this meeting by 10 minutes, right?
But I think it's a very lovely name. So,
Thank you.
so who wants to go first here?
I'll go first. As we said, my name is Janice Christianic. I'm the Director of Economic Development. I am a person of one in my office. And I've been in my position for about, I think it's 9 years now. I think in the spring, it'll be about 10 years. So Catherine, I sent out some information. I don't know if you shared it with the commission.
I did, and if you,
Okay.
it's up to you, if you, you can share the screen.
Yeah, I'll try to share it. I'm on my phone. So let's see if that. Are you able to see anything?
Not yet, Janice.
Okay. Let me see, start broadcast. Let's see if that works. And that's my dog. I'll give it 1 second. So before that comes up, I just want to, so both David and I, we had, I guess it was before COVID, correct me if I'm wrong, David, we were introduced to sustainability and the project that you guys have on your plate. So we are incredibly empathetic to what you have ahead of you. It's a lot of work. And I think we quickly realized, we did have a few meetings, and we quickly realized that it was more than just a project for a couple people, that we really needed a bunch of people. Hold on a second.
Oh, you're almost there.
All right. All right, are you able to see now or no?
We see you are sharing screen.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're-
let me see, hold on.
Oh, there you
There
go.
we
Can
go.
you see it? There we go. Okay, great. So I think, as I was saying, I think we quickly realized that this was a much bigger project than a two-person project. So at that time, we did go through some meetings. We did meet with some state representatives. And then we, spoke to Matt and basically said this really needs to be a larger group, and there needs to be some community representatives in that group. So we are familiar with it. So we do, like I said, we do know what you're going through. It's a huge project, but it's so important. So I think I'm speaking for David as well. We're just very grateful that you guys are taking this on. And I'll speak for him again and say that if you need anything, please reach out to us, even if it's not our expertise, and we will try and help you find the resources you need to get this job done. So I thought the best way to start is for you really to have a good understanding, or maybe a better understanding of what I do. And I don't want to, go through this, and I don't want to take too much of your time, because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. But basically, my role is to support businesses, to help us retain businesses, to grow businesses, to expand our commercial industrial grand list. But also what I get involved with a lot is infrastructure projects, quality of life, supporting entrepreneurs, building a brand, kind of doing promotion and marketing for Bethel, and building our workforce. So those are kind of the overall goals that me and myself, I have a 7 commission EDC that I work with as well. And I also report directly to the first selectman. So we have a group of people that are business owners, Berkshire Corporate Park, which I'll talk about in a little bit. He's also on our commission. So we really have a close partnership with that, and a lot of small business owners currently in Bethel. So I kind of focus on 4 key areas: business development and support, community partnerships, marketing and public relations, and community improvement. And I have this little diagram here. So I put together a strategic plan. I believe it was in 2016. So I'm in the process of updating it. So you can see my little notations here, but I wanted to kind of cross things out that didn't apply anymore, and add anything that would be helpful to you. So in terms of business development and support, and feel free to ask any questions as I go through this, really I focus on business assistance. So I'm a liaison for the town. Anything that a business needs, I kind of work them through the process. I've got a guide to starting a business. I send out welcome emails, and I kind of help them through the permit process, which we have a lot of first-time small business owners come in, and they haven't done this before. So the permit process can be overwhelming to them. So really, I just sit down with them and I work through the process with them. If it means going from office to office, we do that. If it means filling out applications together, we do that as well. Retain and attracting businesses. I do visit with my businesses regularly. I try to get out there as frequently as I can. We also have a business incentive program that I think we approved it 2 years ago. That might fall into some of the stuff that you guys are looking at as well. And I try to focus on entrepreneurship and innovation as well. We're looking into maybe starting or partnering with some places doing some sort of work areas and innovation areas. So I do focus on that as well. Communication, I have newsletter, I have social media, email, websites. I do educational workshops That's been kind of a little awkward over the past couple years. We've kind of moved online a bit. But I do those as well. And I try to partner with the chamber or any other organizations that do kind of the same thing and have kind of the same mission. I worked on transit-oriented development, which I'm sure you've all heard about. From the beginning of that process, I was able to get a grant for that process. So I also do grants as well to do the planning for that. I think we had about $250,000 we got for that. So I was involved in that process kind of from the grant application through the approval of the plan itself. Downtown revitalization, any grants or monies that are available, I go after. So it could be signage, bus shelters, sidewalks, all that kind of stuff. I go after that money as well. Clark Park expansion, we're actually at the end of an 8-long-year process of expanding the park. We've added 4 new lots. It'll be done in the spring 2023, and we just put the 4 properties on the market. And those are mostly industrial. Probably we'll probably have manufacturing, light manufacturing go in there. They've been unofficially on the market. As of probably Monday, they'll be officially on the market, but we already have 6 people that are interested in the 4 lots without marketing it. So that's a great little project. And we've also created an area for people to take advantage of the park in terms of using it recreationally. So I somehow remember that being maybe part of your planning. So if that is, I can help you and kind of walk you through that as well. Any new development or big business expansion I get involved in, grants and incentives. As I mentioned, I do that as well. In terms of community partnerships, I do, like I said, go out and we've done meets and greets with, we've also created Downtown Advisory Committee as well as Clark Park Advisory Committee. We really have 4 key areas in Bethel that I focus on. It's really downtown, the Stony Hill area, Clark Business Park, and Berkshire Corporate Park. Berkshire is privately owned, but as I said, one of our commission members is the owner of that park. So we work very collaboratively towards any improvements or anything that we need to do there as well. But I did create 2 advisory committees. At that time, Stony Hill had their own committee. So I didn't create a separate committee for that. It was called Stony Hill Four Corners. Since then, last year, they dissolved. So I'll probably be creating something over there in the near future as well. Real estate professionals, I work in partnership with them, with their Commercial Brokers Alliance, Site Selectors, Women's Council. Those are all organizations that are focused on real estate that I work with. Culture and arts, I created Bethel Arts. I'm currently the board chair and president of that. So anything arts related, you can absolutely come with me. I have a great relationship with the Cultural Alliance of Western Connecticut, and as well as some of the state organizations around the arts. So if you guys have anything arts related, definitely reach out to me about that. In terms of educational institutions, I work closely with the schools as well. We created a business advisory board, and basically it's developing a workforce locally. And so what we do is we invite business owners in, and we've created pathway programs. For example, let's say marketing. We have marketing businesses. We have kids that are interested in marketing, and we connect them and create pathways and internships and all these types of programs so that the incentive is for them to come back and work here, whether they go to college or whether they go right into a career. It's really about keeping our workforce locally. I also work with Western Connecticut and some of the other regional colleges as well. And they're also part of that business advisory board as well. So anything educational, I can help you with as well. The Chamber of Commerce, I'm also on the board of directors. So anything chamber business related, you can use me as a resource. And let's see, local community organizations. So there's a lot of local organizations that are financed through the state that support small businesses like SCORE, SBDC, there's SBA, there's WBDC. I know they're all acronyms, but if you have any questions on them, but they're all programs that are set up to support small businesses. And I'm on the board of HIDC, which is a financing organization. But I'm also very connected with some of these other organizations. So if there's anything small business related around financing, business plans, anything like that, definitely use me as a resource as well. DECD is a state organization and their focus is on economic development. So I work with them as well as Advanced Connecticut, which is another, it's kind of like a lower level to the DECD, and they work with site selectors and with local municipalities since COVID, actually. And so anything related to business support, businesses coming in, businesses needing financing, I work with them as well. We've also received a couple grants from them for Clark Park expansion and for a few other projects within town. I'm sorry, I'm talking really fast, but I want to get it all in because I know it's a lot of information, but I'm hoping that when I throw out some of this stuff, you'll say, oh, that's in our plan, or that's one of the items in our list. And so you'll know to come to me as a resource. There's other professional organizations, like I said, through the state. There's CERC, there's CETUS, there's WCEDD, which basically I'm on that committee, and every 5 years we put together a regional economic development plan, and that allows us to if it's supported by that plan, then we can use those resources to try and.
Is that part of Westcog, the WCED?
No, it's actually part of the Western Connecticut Council of Governments. So if you think of like regional governments, if you think of regional governments like in New York, it's our Connecticut version because we don't have regional governments. So it's kind of like a pseudo regional government. And so every year they have to every 5 years, they have to put together this economic plan. So I did the one this year and I did the one prior to that. And it basically outlines kind of what the region is, what's going on in the region, what are the assets of the region, and then it will outline projects within those communities that they support. So they're basically saying, as a region, we support these projects. And I think we have about a dozen projects, so water projects, sewer projects, expansion projects. There's a whole slew of them. And us being at the table, it allows us to, possibly use that as a backup for grant applications. And then there's Danbury Regional Manufacturing Group. So a lot of what I do is really connecting with some of the partners that really help us get opportunities for the town. And surveys, I'm always surveying our different regions, which within Bethel that I mentioned before, are business regions, really to get a feel for what they need. And then I kind of act upon those needs. Is there any question on those two things? And then I'll quickly go through marketing and community improvements.
I have a question for you, Janice.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you able to share the regional economic development plan with those projects with us?
Yes, I can definitely. I'll send that to you tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Yeah, they call it the SEDS. And so you'll see that it's comprehensive economic development strategy for the region. But I'll send that over, and it's kind of a long, cumbersome document. So I'll also identify the pages that are strictly or mention Bethel.
Okay. And then in terms of arts and culture,
Yeah.
so Sustainable Commission, there's arts and culture overall, and then there's arts and culture that specifically focus on youth. Do you think that you would be the resource for both of those? I would imagine so.
Yeah, use me for that. We've worked through Bethel Arts, we've worked with the schools in the past, so I have a pretty good relationship with them. So if it's not, and there are some businesses in Bethel that were doing youth programming as well. So if I don't have the exact answer, I can get you the person that you need to go to.
Okay, my last question is, there's a section also here in our, thick packet of tourism.
Yeah.
So that's something that I know that's probably part of the marketing component that you do.
Yeah.
Tourism fall into your world?
Yeah, and so right now we don't market for tourism because we just don't think we're at that point yet. but I think we do pieces of it. So we may not have a huge tourism plan, but we do little things that do impact tourism. So yeah, use me for that. Like I said, I'm also in the Chamber of Commerce, and there's things that we do there as well that would probably meet some of the requirements for your planning.
Historic Society, because that's also.
That would be Pat Rist.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I would use Pat Riss for that. She's probably
Okay.
the most senior person over there, or has been there the longest amount of time. So she was also involved in the Chamber of Commerce as well. So you can probably ask her some questions about what we've done historically. She may have some answers for that as well.
Thank you, Janice.
Yeah, of course. All right. Any more questions on those two things? And then I'll quickly go through the others. Okay, great. So in terms of marketing and public relations, we really had nothing when I started this position. So we have some basic marketing material in terms of kind of the next strategic plan that I'm putting together. I think we're going to focus more on marketing. But the first phase was really just getting out there, making connections, figuring out what we really, is necessary and critical to do. And then we did basic things like brochure, town website, website talking about Clark Business Park. I kind of oversee the park in terms of maintenance and things going on there. So if there's anything about industrial parks or somewhat recreational things there, I can help you with that as well. We did a town video, we did a community guide. Downtown, we did not just downtown, I should say, at Route 6 and downtown, we did wayfinding signage. We also did signage in downtown for public parking, community branding. We started the brand of Discover Bethel. And so we've kind of created this website, created more of a robust website that includes business directory, available properties, and events. And then, I do press releases, I'm on social media, and Bethel Forward. Like I said, the Bethel Forward TOD plan was something that I was involved with from kind of the beginning to the end. And that's, about increasing density and commercial development and all that kind of stuff. So if you haven't taken a look at that, I'm trying to think where that would fall. It's going to fall somewhere in your planning. I'm just not sure what category yet, but if you need any information on that, between both David and I are very, very familiar with that.
Forward, is that part of the POCD or is that a separate document?
It's separate. It was really structured around the downtown and economic opportunities in downtown, and then development. And there were plans about development and commercial development, residential development. It's a pretty long document. I think it was approved in 2016, David, am I right?
July 18th.
All right, good. Testing my knowledge. And it's a great document, and we're, kind of working towards that in terms of development in the downtown, but there's economic information in there. There's conceptual plans. David probably can tell you some more when he's up and going. He probably has it right in front of him, and I don't.
I do.
Yeah, say.
I'm just curious, is that a 10-year plan?
That was projecting between 10 and 20 years, I believe.
Okay, so there's nothing in the works to revisit that particular plan, or?
No, no. No, and so that gets confused because Bethel Forward is a downtown development plan. Part of that plan is transit-oriented development. So I think people get confused that Bethel Forward is just about transit-oriented development, and it's not. Now, we happen to have a train station in our downtown, so transit-oriented development is part of that plan, but there's other things in that plan as well.
The housing that just opened near the bank and the Methodist Church, is that a Methodist Church project?
No, that property
People don't
was,
know. They ask me all the time. I say, I have no idea.
yeah, no, that property was owned by Dr. Volpintesta. He passed away and his family sold that. So that's 155 Greenwood Avenue is the front piece that you see, and it's the white house. And then his property went all the way straight back to School Street. So that's all one piece of property. So
Built the housing.
the person that bought that property built the housing. He redeveloped the front piece.
That's all private. That's
That's all
nothing.
private, yeah.
Well,
And,
I mean, it has a lot to do with the town,
Right.
you know, but it's
well,
not-
it has to do with the town because they're residents.
Sure,
Right, but I mean, was there any special considerations? Somebody told me it was a special income
You mean
situation.
the affordable, like a mixed use?
Yes,
affordable component?
I said I don't know.
Yeah,
I can
there-
speak to that when we
Yes.
get more into my presentation, Janice. I'd be happy to
Yeah,
explain that.
Perfect, yeah. Great. I don't get really involved, well, I guess I do, but I'm really more focused on the commercial side of things. But I do get involved. A lot of our projects are mixed use, so I do get involved in those as well. But David, you know, he's been through that project a million times, so he can probably give you some really good information. But yes, most projects do have an affordable component, which David can talk to you more about.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so the last thing is community improvements. So accessibility, walkability, safety, sidewalks, connections, bus shelters, anything that would improve the appeal of either downtown or any of our other business districts. I get involved in a lot of infrastructure projects as well. We're going through a project right now, which will improve some of the mobility and the gateways in downtown. Specifically, public art. We did a sculpture exhibit, and it was before COVID, maybe a year or two before COVID. We did that 2 years in a row. That was a project that I did as well, and any other recreational opportunities that, you know, really fall under appeal or quality of life. Downtown parking, we just we're in the process of doing a downtown parking plan, which is part of that mobility plan as well. So they've taken all the, go ahead.
Quick, Janice. Yeah, that's really important. You and I have spoken about that because that is part of the Sustainable Connecticut. One of the categories is having a parking plan. And
Yeah.
I know you're working.
Yeah, so that's in the works. They've kind of done all the numbers and they're, you know, kind of going through the data right now. And part of that will be mobility as well, which will include pedestrian, bike, streetscape, all that kind of stuff relating to downtown improvements. But we don't have any of the recommendations yet. So sorry, I can't share those right now because I don't have them. But probably over the next couple of months, we'll probably after the new year, we'll have the data, and then we're going to be doing some public sessions, which of course we'll invite you guys to as well, so you can see what's going on.
Janice, I'm just curious, you mentioned the word gateways, what do you mean?
Yeah. So gateways are kind of natural areas that tell you that you're coming into some other area. So for example, we may add a gateway by Caroluzzi's when you're coming into downtown, and maybe on the other side, just as an example, when you're coming in from 53 onto Greenwood Avenue. And it may say a sign, it could be sign, it could be landscaping, but it's really telling the person that they're entering this area. And so right now we're specifically looking at them for downtown on those two kind of areas of Greenwood Avenue.
Okay.
And it also helps identify where they're coming into, but it also helps with traffic and some of the other things and speed and all that kind of stuff as well. So we're kind of looking at it all encompassing all of that stuff in terms of mobility, safety, all of that.
You're talking about 53 when you come in and Carluzzi's Wine and Spirits is to your left.
Yeah, there's Caroluzzi's Wine and Spirits. And then on the other side, there's where Domino's is. I hate to use that as let's use Sycamore, where Sycamore is.
Yeah,
So there may be a gateway there that basically says you're coming into downtown Bethel. And then on the other side, where Caroluzzi's Wine and Liquor is, there may be something over there.
Right.
There's Nashville Road or something.
Right, but what she's trying to say is, it's kind of, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Janice, to me, the
Yeah.
gate is an entrance and exit, but it's a transition from one place to another. And it's, and like you said, it's identifiable by signage, by landscaping, by, it could be their there could be this big crosswalk and I don't know,
Right.
something else.
Right, so
So-
if you come down 53 and you're heading towards like Parloa Park,
Yeah,
at that light,
Yeah, that
then
would be a
that would be a
transition.
gateway, because if you go
I
right, you
see.
can go to
Yeah.
downtown Bethel, and if you go
Right.
straight, you can go to downtown Danbury.
okay,
It's
Yeah.
a transition from
it's
one place.
a bigger transition,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
can get to Bethel from
Yeah,
53
but that's
without
not
doing
what,
it.
that's not.
Yeah,
But-
we're not modifying the roadways. What we're identifying that, identifying an area that's a little different than maybe the area you came from. And we think it's important to identify downtown Bethel. I mean, for many reasons, for safety and mobility, but also for tourism and things like that. So, so we're looking into those things as well.
So, I'm not sure what we mean by tourism, but
Well, so if people, downtown Bethel is difficult to get to. And so you end up, so we have wayfinding signage that says 2 miles to get downtown, 2 mile, all over the place. But then when they get there, they're not really sure they're there. I mean, we do because we're from Bethel, but other people don't. So this is another way to get them down to one of our business districts that's very difficult to get to. For people that aren't from the area. So this is another way to help with that in terms of tourism.
people who want to come to Bethel for the
Yes.
cinema or the restaurants.
Right.
Right, I mean, they're not coming to Bethel for historic reasons. They
Well,
want,
they might.
They might be.
Charles
might be.
Ives, the famous composer, used to take trips to Bethel as a way to spend a Sunday.
Right.
In Danbury, but it took about an hour and a half to get.
Right. Right. There are, yes. And so, like I said before, we don't have a huge like tourism. But at some point, we hope to get there. Like you can spend a day here, you can go to the brewery, you can go shopping, you can, so we can at some point create those experiences that tourists want to. I don't think we're there yet, but identification of where our downtown is pretty important because people don't know. And they're always stopping for directions. Where's downtown? Where do I go? I mean, it's difficult. You're coming off 84 or either you're coming through 53. There's really no identification that this is Bethel's downtown. And
Really?
it's a great asset. So we should be promoting it.
Compared to other towns around us, nobody really has that downtown charming
Right.
cobblestone.
Well, I mean, Richfield does.
Richfield, yeah, but Reading doesn't have it. Newtown doesn't have it.
Right.
Brookfield doesn't have it.
Right.
So that is a big selling point.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got things like the cinema again, which I know people used to come from Wilton to go to the cinema.
And
You
they do. I mean, they get more of a regional pull than probably a local pull, to be honest with you. But when I think about a gateway, and you mentioned Brookfield, and no, they don't have they're trying to create a downtown. Newtown's trying to create a downtown. But when you come off the exit and you're by that 4-way intersection and you see that sign that says Town of Brookfield, it's white and pretty with landscaping. That's what we're talking about. Something like that identifies our downtown, which is, our asset. I mean,
Right now, it's just like a green highway sign. You
yes,
want to make something attractive that brings people in.
yes, yep, absolutely. So let me so other things, so commercial property improvements, there's historic tax credits, there's facade improvements, there's other incentives through the state to kind of make those property improvements. So I'll work with property owners for that. And we also did an empty storefront initiative, because I think when I started 9 years ago, there were probably about 8 properties that were vacant from where Edison Kitchen is now and right before Caroluzzi's. And so we did art initiatives in there to get people in those places so that they can see them and hopefully rent them out, which, did end up happening. But doing things like that to kind of activate those vacant spaces. I mean, we're very fortunate in Bethel. Our vacancy is very, very small, especially compared to other areas. So we haven't had a need to do that. But when I did start this job years ago, we did. And so if we ever find ourselves in that state again, then we would probably do more of those. But we did do those in the past to kind of activate spaces. And I think that's it. You know, I have a good relationship with the property owners. I mean, every business, every property owner, everybody's in a different situation. So a lot of what I do is tailored to the property or the business, but whatever support I can provide them is what I do. And as you can see, my focus is really about making connections and looking for opportunities that will improve the economics of Bethel. So I'm also on the HART Board of Directors. So that's the bus service. Again, having access and transportation is important. So I'm on that Board of Directors as well. So anything under transportation, you can probably use me as a resource as well. And
Just a quick question, I don't know if this, you're
Yeah.
involved. On the commercial side, are you involved with CPACE and the Green Bank at all? Oh, that's.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So actually,
my interest.
yeah, I brought that program to Bethel. Gosh, I think we started that 6
Right.
years ago.
I
Maybe-
saw the resolution, yep.
Yeah, probably about 6 years ago. So so it's a program for you that don't know. It was a program that you have to sign up for as a municipality. And so basically they give property owners relief for any energy upgrades that they make. So the municipality has to participate because it's done through taxes and you know, however they do it. So the municipality has to participate for the businesses to be able to participate. So I think we became, it was probably about 6 years ago. I know we had 4 or 5 businesses the last time I looked that took advantage of it, but I haven't looked recently or investigated how many people are actually using that. But we are a member or participant in that program. Yeah.
It's a really good financing tool to create through private assets, through private real estate, you know, clean energy. And the tax incentives are pretty decent.
Yeah, and that's administered through the tax collector, just so you know.
But you're involved with it from that point of view, because that is also a category for Sustainable Connecticut. They're involved with the Green Bank and CPACE and all that.
Yeah. So we are that, and I can provide you some information, but the tax collector, they administer it, so they can really give you the down and dirty on that. And so I think that's all I had.
Does anybody else have any questions for Janice? That was a great presentation, very comprehensive. Thank you. I know you and I met before, and when you and the other department heads were involved in trying to get the certification, you all did a lot of work on it, and you continue to do so many sustainability projects. So it's a matter of us as a commission partnering with you to be able to apply for that certification. So
One thing, Janice, when you say you were, you know, vacancies and storefronts,
Yeah.
most of those are owned, I assume, by private developers, right?
Yes.
Private,
They're
like
all-
Hawley, people like that.
Yeah.
So you're saying you work with Hawley to see, how do you do that? In other words, what are you doing
Yeah.
that Hawley's not doing?
Yeah, so what I do is I try to, so in the case where say it's a recent vacancy and they have it on them, well, some back then, some people didn't have brokers. So that was one thing, is I would talk to them about the importance of having brokers. Some of it was the state of the properties, you know, I mean, you walk in and they smell like mold, or they're not accommodating to businesses. So I would try to find grants and funding to help them make those improvements, or other ways for them to make those improvements. So I would work with them about that. In terms of the art installation, I basically reached out to them and say, hey, we're interested in doing, you know, ABC on these dates. Would you allow us to use your space? Which sounds great, but there's insurance. I mean, it's not an easy process.
What are installation?
Say that again?
can I just interrupt for a little bit?
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
get into this,
Yeah.
but we're gonna,
Okay,
yeah, I mean, David's gotta go, we have a whole agenda with
Okay.
approvals
Yeah.
and stuff, so
Yeah.
if you, I think.
I just don't know what she means by the town getting involved with the
Right,
real
what I-
estate people.
Right, so what
Yeah.
I suggest is Janice is so open,
Okay.
you can call her and
I
ask those
probably
questions,
will.
and she'll explain that process, which
I
is
will.
important.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. You can call me anytime. Catherine has my information, but
Very
call me, email me anytime. If you want to come in and talk, that's fine too.
Very accessible.
All right.
David.
Good evening, Madam Chair
David.
and members of the Connecticut, the Sustainability Commission. For the record, my name is Dave McCollum. I work in the land use department. As was previously mentioned, I am informally the assistant town planner. My official title is both as the inland wetlands agent and as the land use coordinator. Our department consists of 3 members. I have been in my current position for 6 years. The zoning official, who unfortunately could not be with us tonight, but she sent me in her stead to make a presentation to you guys. She has been in her position for the past 7 years and has been with the department for almost, if not over 20 years. So a fair bit of experience between the 2 of us. We work with, well, for your guys' interests, 3 land use commissions. I work closely with the Inland Wetlands Commission, Beth more so with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and there's also the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is another group that isn't really germane to what you guys are all about. So I'll just try to focus on the latter 2. My role as the inland wetlands agent, my purpose is to protect natural resources, specifically ones that are water-based, so streams, swamps, bogs, marshes, things of that nature. I get involved with making sure that they are not adversely impacted in a way where they will be permanently damaged. Wetlands and streams are a finite resource. I think there's a statistic floating around that almost, if not more than 90% of the inland wetlands and watercourses in Connecticut have been adversely impacted or irreversibly compromised at some point over the past 100 years, ever since the Industrial Revolution, or when we started to have development over here. So our regulations and my role really were from the onset of the town adopting the regs in the early 70s, which thanks to the Connecticut adopting the Clean Water Act. Anyway, so my purpose for the commission is to be their advisor and to guide them through applications where someone wants to develop close to a resource, whether it's subdivision where you have houses going in, or if it's a commercial development. We try to mitigate or minimize any potential risks to the watercourse or the wetlands themselves and the area that is immediately around them. I can go more into the science of that, but there are still 2 other entities that I have to go into. Planning and zoning, they are essentially intertwined for our purpose here in Bethel. They essentially function under the same commission, which is the one that Beth Cavagna reports to. When it comes to planning and zoning, you're looking at how properties and uses interact with each other, and more specifically the location of structures, their size, what their uses are they conducive or beneficial to uses of other properties that surround them. I know one of the commissioners had asked about the project that was the former doctor's office of Dr. Volkman Testa. I can get into that briefly because I think there are a lot more things to cover than just that parcel. I don't have materials prepared like Janice did, but I do have the benefit of having 3 sets or 3 documents rather online. I'd be happy to email those to you guys and share them with you. Not that you would need to read them through cover to cover or get into them in depth, but there are components that do tie in with what you guys will do and some of the requirements that you're going to look at on your master action list, which I'll get into a little bit later. But just bear with me here while I get this up on my screen. Hopefully this works for you guys. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so these are my regulations, or rather the commission's regulations for inland wetlands. Go ahead.
You lost it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
You can try one more, I don't know.
no, hang on, I got it. Is that better?
Oh, there you go.
There we go. Okay, I'm sorry.
Don't
I'm-
worry, it's fine, you're doing great.
Thanks. So these are the Inland Wetlands Commission's regulations. This more or less goes through their process, how they perform their reviews, the parameters that they consider, and so on and so forth. I know I'm just going through this really quickly. I'm trying to do this in the interest of time, and there's just also a lot of material. So the next document that would be,
David,
Yeah.
there's a question.
yeah, go ahead.
That's the one that's online, accessible by the town website, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. All of our regulations are on our municipal website. It's been a work in progress over the past few months as we're updating our webpage. So if for some reason you guys aren't able to find the PDFs of our regs easily, like I said, I'm more than happy to email those to you guys so you
I
can.
have a question for you, David.
Sure.
Does planning and zoning deal with low impact development?
Yes. I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's one of the things I want to get to.
Good, glad, because that's another sustainable Connecticut.
Yes, it
Was on my list.
yes, it
Another
is.
thing that interested me. Go ahead.
So in these regulations, we do not, oh boy, let me try to bring it up here again.
Well, low impact development, that's like stormwater and, wetland.
There we go. Yeah, right. So I'll get into that. So like I was saying, with our regulations for each commission's regulations, we do not have goals per se, or objectives. What we have are purposes. These are the ones obviously for wetlands here. I could go through all of these, but I think I'd be losing the point for what the land use department does as a whole to just try to go into the micros of everything. So let me just go into the zoning regs real quick and give you guys a perusal of what those look like. This pretty much goes into what uses are allowed in certain zones. In other words,
So David, while you're on zoning.
Yeah.
One thing that interests my brain.
Sure.
Have you, in your department, have had conversations about EV charging zoning regulations and how to integrate that into the current regulations? It doesn't have to be a massive integration. I mean, maybe look at it like mixed use development with the affordability and then throw in that EV.
Yeah. So we are, our regulations are not static documents. As a matter of fact, we just made our most recent update with the RMO East Zone, I believe last year. And that's the latest revision on top of a myriad of others that we've done through the past 5, if not the past 10. So our regulations are ever changing. Their purpose is to reflect the needs of residents in town that live here currently and those that could live here in the future. whatever that would be. Certainly elements like electronic vehicle charging would be considered. In fact, I think we're looking into making a change to our commercial regulations to encourage sites where you could have a large parking lot to have electronic vehicle charging, similar to the sites that are at the Bethel, the old Bethel train station where Broken Symmetry now is. I believe something similar to those. Tesla EV charging, if I'm saying that correctly. But that's just one of many things that we're looking into. Another thing that has come up lately with discussion is our transit-oriented development overlay regulations, which were adopted following the conclusions that were reached in the master plan report, which Janice alluded to, her having gotten grant monies for, and that we the study for which we underwent in 2016, and I believe we adopted the TOD regulations in 2018. There are other things that we are looking at all the time in terms of, making sure our regulations reflect the needs of residents. To go back to the purpose of what our regs are, just to summarize it, for the zoning regulations, you're really looking at how to best protect public health, safety, and welfare, and doing those three things while you maintain and enhance community character. So in other words, if there's a historic structure or an area downtown where there are certain elements where you want to preserve a use or an idea type or what have you, that's part of what the zoning regulations are geared towards, on top of improving the economic value of properties and the welfare of general welfare of residents. There is one last document that is the most important for me to dive into, if you're all with me, which I hope, and that is the Plan of Conservation and Development. This is a document that the Planning and Zoning Commission prepares every 10 years. Our last POCD became effective this time almost 3 years ago. And what this really goes into is what the town has been up to that point and what its visions are for the next 10 years, the effective period of what the POCD is and what it's allowed to be by statute. So I could go into these sections. I definitely think if there is a document, a land use commission document that you're going to read, this one is of most interest to you. There's a lot of...
No, you don't have to get into it because I've been through 3 POCDs in my life, but
Okay.
And they're a requirement by the state to have them done every 10 years. And they're a wealth of information. It's a really great guide. And it gives a whole lot of recommendations for further implementation and study. It's available on the website, right?
That's correct.
Right. And so I really encourage the commission to look at it because that will give you a really good idea of, the thought process that Bethel, P&Z, and land use go through for urban design, economic development, transportation, affordable housing, all those kind of things, and how it all connects together, connecting neighborhoods, how do you get in and out of the town. Most important is how we view our urban design, right?
Yeah, and to go into that facet, it's not just urban design. There's also, a conservation element that goes with that as well, because it's one thing to have urban design. It's another thing to want to protect natural resources and to make sure that the character of a community is preserved. So there are those elements in there as well on top of the urban design elements. So this is an illustrative plan of the TOD overlay zone. So if you're following my cursor, this is Greenwood Avenue going to its intersection with Grassy Plain Street, Route 53. This is just a concept for what the space could look like. What's more important is the implementation plan lists that come as a result of the research, the maps, the data that are all part of this document. If there is one section that you guys can take away from this, it's at the very end. And I know it's a lot of stuff that I'm going to scroll through. It is this section here, the implementation plan. I know that it's just Janice and I speaking tonight. There are a lot of other local entities here in Bethel and beyond that can have that would be of interest to you guys as a resource. For instance, the Western Connecticut Council of Governments as one that Janice mentioned. Another one that's not on this list, which is the HVA, the Housatonic Valley Authority. Others that I'm sure you guys recognize, the Economic Development Commission, one that Janice works with, so on and so forth. But this is a key that lets you know what plans or what goals, if you will, or objectives, that's the word I'm looking for, what objectives the town has based on this POCD and which entity can best help you achieve these goals. Now, I mentioned the master action plan before, which I think is the rubric for you guys getting points towards your sustainable CT membership. It's no coincidence that some of the language in here overlaps with some of the goals in that. As I mentioned, we started, or as Janice mentioned, we started looking into sustainable CT membership in about 2018, and we adopted the POCD in 2020. So that was 2 years where we were like, well, we know that Bethel ultimately wants to be a sustainable CT member. What language can we put in the POCD regs that can facilitate a group, if ultimately it wasn't ourselves, to help realize what those goals are and have it organized in some fashion. So as you guys read through this, like I said, I wouldn't expect you to read through this all in one shot. I think you'll realize that. Like Janice had mentioned, we are always available as a resource for you guys. I'm sure there's going to be questions that you guys have for me tonight, but if there are any that I'm not able to answer tonight, or if there are others that come up through your process, feel free to reach an email or to send an email to us or make an appointment. We always like to have visitors come and stop by and discuss this stuff. We've already met with Madam Chair on an occasion or two just for this very purpose. We look forward to meeting with her again and with you guys as well. A couple of actually, no, let me try to keep to the point. The reference that I'm not sure which commissioner it was, but as an example of what we have been doing as of late, the Volpentesta property, it is a project that is within the TOD overlay zone. It is a mixed-use project where there are both commercial and residential spaces. Some or units, I should say. Some of the units are meant to be what the state deems as affordable, which is either 80% or 60% of the area median income. Part of why there's that requirement in there is because we're trying to make the TOD area accessible for everybody. And we're also trying to have it comply with other state statutes and other things that I can get to at another time. So there's a lot of stuff that gets intertwined with what we do. There are a lot of entities that I'm doing a disservice by not being able to name right now. But definitely I can get a list for you guys. Happy to answer any questions that you may have for me. I'll do my best to give a response.
Are there any questions for David specifically? Anybody on the call? Katie, Suni, Peter?
Good, thank you.
David, that was so helpful. You did a great job. This was awesome. You answered a lot of the things that I'm interested in and relating to sustainable Connecticut. So I'm sure that I for sure will be reaching out to you and to Beth again.
Absolutely.
I'm sure the rest of the commissioners will also as we go through 2023.
I do have a question.
Okay, great.
In general, does politics affect this at all? In other words, we've had a major change at the helm, although, without getting into specifics, hopefully those policies that were in place will continue. But as you plan out, if selectmen were to change, hypothetically, would it affect all the things you're doing in terms of approval, or is that insulated?
It's not necessarily insulated. There are some projects where there is overlap. For instance, where you have a project, I'm going to refer to it by its CGS section number 8-24, where it ultimately has to go where the Planning and Zoning Commission makes a positive recommendation or a referral, then it has to go to the Board of Selectmen. There is that interagency decision making for some projects and approvals. For instance, I think the most recent one would be, or a recent example of that would be the groundwater supply station off of Plum Trees Road, where the land use commissions had to grant approvals for that activity. And then because it was a project for a municipal agency, it wasn't just us that had to grant approvals. The Board of Selectmen, I believe, if I'm getting the process correct, they had to send it out for a referendum, which it ultimately had passed. The politics for boards, they are meant to represent the community. The members for all three land use commissions, they are elected volunteers. So in other words, I forget their election cycles. I believe it's 4 years for all of the commissions and for the first election for that matter. They run, and it's up to the local residents to choose which candidates they believe, if it's not an existing member of the board, best represents them and best represents the needs for the town.
Except that in reality, most people, for example, when you vote on members of the Wetlands Commission, most people don't know those people. They may vote along party lines. They have no idea what their policy is, what their real interest is. So my question has to do
Peter,
with...
Can we do the politics a different time?
Well, it seems like everything I bring up, you want to do it different time.
No.
But it's not a matter of politics. It's a very good reason here. He's talking about long-term planning. If we were to have different people on commissions, are those long-term plans going to stay in effect?
Well, they have a PFCD that they got approved in 2020.
Right, and that means what?
that means it's good for 10 years.
Okay, so it does, that's the answer.
That is.
The answer is, it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter if the commission changes.
No, you have a
That was my
plan,
question.
that, you have a plan that's the same thing with Bethel Forward,
Yeah,
that
it's
was.
a perfectly legitimate
Yes.
question.
Right, and
Yeah, I
I
didn't know where this was going.
That's
I
what I
apologize
wanted
for
to know.
not having given us a more succinct answer, but yes, that's correct. For plans such as the plan of conservation development, you're really not touching those once they're adopted. And those
That's
stay in
what I
effect
wanted to know.
for- Yeah, those stay in
That
effect
was
for
my
10
question.
years.
Maybe it was too long-winded, but that's really,
Yeah,
Right,
Okay, well, thank you, David. This was really, really helpful. And Janice, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to the commission. We're a little disorganized still, but we'll get there. And we are looking forward to our partnership with all of you. And
absolutely.
have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Do you have any questions for us?
I guess my only comments, like Janice and I have reiterated, please do not be afraid to reach out to us. There may be times of the year where we have a lot going on. I'm sure I can speak for Janice, especially with the lots coming up for sale, hopefully as soon as next week. But this is our busy time of year, but that does not mean that we cannot make time for you. And that would go for any time of the year. Any questions that you have, any requirement for that master action list that I keep referring to, that you guys need to parse out and figure out what resource can best help meet those requirements, we are here to help you. So that's all I would have to say.
Ultimately, at least this is in my opinion, we are here to be advocates and to help advance those projects to create a sustainable Bethel now and in the future, so.
One last thing I would have to say, thank you. Thank you very much for your guys' efforts. I don't think Beth, Janice, or I can truly show how much we commend you guys for the efforts that you are going to pursue with getting this sustainable CT. It's going to be a lot of work, but we're happy to help, and we wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you very much for having me, for inviting me to speak and discuss with you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Same here.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Have a great holiday.
Have
and
a great,
we'll talk in the new year.
Yes.
great.
Same to
Happy
you.
holiday, happy new year. Thanks again.
Okay, yeah, that kind of stayed because it's a public meeting, but so that was very helpful, I think, to everybody to hear what they've done, what they do, what their roles are in the town. All right, so what I'd like to do is move on to the business part of the agenda. And number 4 is the consideration of approval from the October 19th minutes. I apologize for not having the correct minutes in the agenda, but it was sent out to you several times. There were no minutes for the November 16th meeting because there was not a quorum, or so we thought. So I'd like somebody to make a motion for the minutes for the October 19th minutes.
Motion approved.
Second.
And all in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay. Motion carries. Discussion and consideration of approval of Sustainable Bethel Commission bylaws. Those were also sent out to you several times. We made a few little tweaks to it. Katie had put the original document and draft together. What I need is some type of, it would be helpful to discuss it, then approve it, and then I'm gonna send this over to the town's attorney to confirm, anything, if he has any comments, but I'd like to be able to move it from here to there, so that's kind of where we're at right now. Any questions?
We took out-
Yeah,
yes, we discussed attendance and the difficulties.
right, I exactly.
You
So-
decided to take that all out and just wing it.
Yep.
So that would be what, a commission decision or your decision, or hopefully it would take
No,
care of
I'm not,
itself?
I don't operate.
I would think it would take care of itself. If somebody can't attend any meetings, they're probably
Where do we? I don't
not going
remember
to
where
stay
this
on the
is.
commission. I think that's a
So
logical.
number 4 says no member shall miss more than 3 meetings
Yeah,
in
but-
1 year. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, but I think she's now taken that out. The problem was that I pointed out that according to that, if you wanted to go by the letter, you could miss 9 meetings a year and not be in violation of that guideline. So,
Okay, so
So-
it's still in there, no member shall miss more than 3 meetings in 1
well,
year.
you know, I mean, logically,
How would they miss 9?
how would they miss 9? You just don't do 3 in a row. You just do.
We took, I think it was in a row, right? I think
Yeah,
originally it was like
It
3,
was in a row originally.
right, and then we said 3 meetings
Yeah, but
in a
let's say
year.
you miss, maybe my figure is off. You miss 2, then you go, and you miss 2, then you go, and you miss 2, then you
Oh,
go.
because this doesn't say 3 in a row.
No,
version
no,
I have.
Right, we
Yeah.
took it out, yeah.
That's,
That was taken out 2 months ago, yeah.
okay, so now what does it read?
No member shall miss more than 3 meetings in 1 year.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But you know, the fact is,
That's fine.
in reality, if people are gonna be, if they're not coming in any way, either virtually or here, they're probably gonna not wanna be on the commission.
Right, so they'll resign, right,
So
but
it'll resolve itself.
this is just part of, the regulation.
Yeah, because you don't wanna be in a position of having to call somebody up and say, by the way, you just missed the meetings, you're out.
Right, and that typically will not happen with something like this, if you're appointed to a government
Yeah.
commission, it's a big deal.
There's an expectation,
Right.
except of course that there is the problem, once you're really assigning a lot of work.
Mhm.
If people aren't here to get the assignment, you know, you're gonna have a situation where a lot of people, maybe 3 or 4 people are doing a lot and 2 or 3 aren't.
Well, I think it's a volunteer-based board, so
Yeah.
everyone's gonna have to sign up for the work. I mean, I don't
No,
think
I
that
agree.
Yeah.
it will be assigned.
So this is
Yeah,
not, again, and I said this to other people.
Plus
too,
people could die.
I'm not the boss,
Well-
well, someone could get run over by a bus.
Yeah.
It
It happens, it's part of life, it's
people-
not a surprise.
I'm not the boss, so we are all leaders in our own right. I guess I was elected chairman and trying to create the infrastructure, resources, recruiting and and try to create some type of direction, but all of us have been appointed. We are all leaders in something.
Yes,
So the expectation is, as a commission,
that you know what you're getting into and you're gonna do it.
as a commission, everyone will have to step up and do stuff. And
Right.
we can talk, we will get to that next month when we talk about the strategic
good.
plan and workshop. So, okay, so that, I think you're okay with that, Peter?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Diana. What
So
do you
I
got?
just have, I just wanna go over just a couple.
Yeah.
And they'll be quick. We don't need to review these more than, like, biannually. Annual's
I
enough.
don't do it more than, I mean, typically, I mean,
Okay,
people review them annually, in just my own experience, I don't know what everybody else's experiences are.
no, that's fine. I was just,
Yeah, does it say
and
that
no
in here?
more, yeah, it does say, no more than, so no more than 10 members, no less than 5,
Yeah.
and that's gonna stay.
Yeah, I think that's, right, we got 7, because, right,
Okay.
you just you want flexibility in life here.
So
So-
the other part of membership question that I had was that we have to be of a certain political party. I speak by,
That doesn't have to be in the bylaws.
it doesn't. Okay.
No, that's part of the way the government works here.
Perfect.
Well, in actually, the state of Connecticut, okay,
Tenure, so on page 1, it says that, I mean, I personally, I don't know if we really need these dates of Monday, December 25th,
I don't-
Monday, December
that's fine.
26th.
It repeats itself in like a way.
okay.
Yeah, but it does say that it's, thereafter, all members shall be appointed for 5 staggered years. However, it says in number 6 that election of officers will be held annually.
Officers meaning the chairman, vice chairman, secretary,
Right,
not the appointments.
not the.
Okay, so then that was my other question, because I'm supposedly secretary, but according to these bylaws, you are the secretary? Because we don't have a treasurer,
No, we don't have a treasurer.
and I don't know.
I don't
I mean,
think
you
we do. I mean, let's look at this, we can put that in, but that doesn't mean we have to have that, unless you want to take it out.
No, but I mean, I'm
If
not doing, so would you want, like, the person,
You're not doing the
whoever the
recording.
person is the secretary, because it states in here that the secretary doesn't have voting rights.
Oh, that's it.
Right.
No, but not the, yeah, the recording secretary.
Because they mean it's,
Oh, I see what
But
you're
I'm
saying.
technically the secretary.
Okay,
I don't
right.
care what my title is, but if
So,
I'm a treasurer,
You got a point, you got a point there, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, yeah.
that's a very
So,
good point.
because the town has assigned us a recording secretary, that's right, the secretary does not have the voting, any voting rights. Then perhaps that's, yeah, those are the three positions, which would be chairperson, vice chair, and treasurer.
treasurer,
and we don't really need a treasurer because we don't have any money. to
that's right.
Technically, we
Well,
do.
Eventually, yes, we
Well,
do
you wanna
actually.
be
We have
treasurer?
bottle
We-
money.
We have the bottle
No.
money and we have money left over from the Heat Smart Pace. And eventually, maybe not now, because obviously we don't have any program, we are going to ask for money and we are gonna get grants.
Okay,
So, but that's that position, as you probably know, we'll be working with the controller as far as that goes.
yeah, so that's why, again, I was only
Oh,
asking,
but
because
thanks
I
for
was
bringing
like,
that up, because
oh,
you know
but
what,
I
I
don't
forgot
have
about.
I don't have any voting rights, so I'm okay.
No. I think, so are you good with leaving it this way where, because we have an assigned recording secretary and then leaving the treasurer and then when the time comes, we would just vote on it that way?
Do we have to revote in the next meeting to
No,
say
no, I
we
don't,
appoint you
no.
as?
Well, I don't have to be, so I'm just a member, I'm not appointed as an officer.
Right now, we're gonna leave things, I'm,
Well, we can't, because
no,
it's
we're
out
gonna
there
leave things
that
the way
I'm the
they are,
secretary.
because that's how we voted.
Yes.
This isn't, the voting for officers is an annual event, so when did we vote, at the end of May? So
No,
that would happen
we
then.
didn't vote, we were all
No, we
appointed.
voted on officers, yeah, we did. We did,
Oh, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
first meeting.
that was the first,
Does anybody want
That was
to?
Oh,
Yeah.
right,
so.
Matt said,
Correct,
yes, and that was chair, vice chair,
right,
secretary.
because that's what we
right.
said, because there was nothing to go by. So
right,
then we decided, well, we really need some bylaws to kind of, some guide.
right.
And so why don't we'll leave things the way they are, get these approved, go to the legal, and then when the annual when we're at the end of May, then we'll vote again. Does that make sense?
But in the meantime, something official has to be done?
I don't know,
The only
does it?
official that has to be done is that these the documents themselves have to get approved.
But in other documentation, you're listed as the chair, she's listed as the secretary. Does that
Does that
No,
matter?
not-
officially change?
No,
Okay,
that-
no,
that's
no,
fine.
Just checking, because then we want to make sure her vote counts.
no, her vote counts.
Yeah,
Because we'll do it on an annual basis.
Number 10, just a suggestion that we shall meet monthly and all meetings shall be governed by Robert's Rule of Order. I don't think we need to have a specific day and time, as I'm sure that will change.
Well-
Page 3, number 10,
Oh, you're right, let's just say monthly.
right? Shall meet
And-
monthly?
Yeah,
I agree that we shouldn't have a specific day and time,
Okay,
but I
those
would,
are my only,
I would like at some point to go off agenda and
no,
discuss
no, we don't have to
time.
go off agenda, because there's an other business, so I
Oh,
have that,
okay.
but just,
Okay.
yeah, I'll bring it up.
All right,
Okay, so that's,
that was it. And
okay. That's fine.
David mentioned that many of the other boards and commissions are 4 years.
Okay, that's
But-
fine.
I don't, that's what, the 5-year staggered thing threw me off a little bit.
Me too.
Well, because you don't want everybody appointed at the same time. I mean, we got appointed at the same time, but typically what happens with a new commission, then they are staggered, like, let's make this up. So I could be only 1 year, you would be on the board for 2 years, you would be on the board for 3 years. So they're just staggered appointments, so we're not all leaving at the same
Right.
time and
so you have
someone-
continuity,
And it could be a whole new group coming in.
so you need continuity,
Right,
you
so
can't just have.
That's why you have staggered. Yeah, that is a really kind of convoluted thing, and I think we can get some direction from the legal counsel on that, on how that makes sense, but
Right, and that is for members, officers follow a different process, because that's the election annually.
so we will all start out as members, and then there's an annual election within that membership.
Right, but the tenure is only, in the bylaws, the tenure is only referring to members of the commission, not officers.
No, because officers are only voted in for 1 year, so I'll go back.
No,
That's what she said.
That's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah,
right.
okay.
You're right.
So again, let's go back to this 5 with all the dates, because it's like a lot.
But I think maybe that's the answer, is that we put that, instead of doing all the dates and things, in there you write members are 5 years or 4, if that seems to be the standard.
Thereafter, all members shall be appointed for 5 staggered years or
And then
4
I think
staggered
writing
years.
Right.
in that the commissioners are appointed yearly. Maybe that's like where that goes.
I mean, could you say that no more than 3 members can resign in any 1 year?
No, you
No,
can't do
you
that.
can't do that.
You can't do that.
I say yes.
You can't do that, no. Hey,
That would make it so much easier.
I've staffed or authorities and commissions where like 3 out of 5 left, and it's kind of like everybody's scrambling to a point.
Yeah, I think
So-
if we took out those middle 3 sentences, we should be fine.
Yeah, I
So it
agree.
would read, the members of the commission shall serve for a term of 5 years with the initial terms staggered. Thereafter, all members shall be appointed for 5 staggered years.
I don't know that you
Kind
need
of like
to say
saying it twice.
staggered years.
Okay, well,
Well, they would be, because then they all expire at once.
you
And
don't want
that's
them
what
Oh,
we're
to
just
that's
expire
true.
at once, because that would be a problem.
Yeah, that was it.
Well, but they're appointed, they're getting 5-year terms separately. 1 year you're getting a 5-year
5.
term, then you're getting a 5-year term for the next year, the next person.
Right.
Yeah, that's staggered.
But I can do that real quick
Okay.
tomorrow.
I have no problem with that.
Okay, and then when I sent, all right, we can approve it with the changes to be reviewed by legal counsel.
Yes.
We can do it that way. And then we'll ask the question, well, actually, this is fine. Are you okay with the way it reads for, where are we? Oh my gosh. Okay. 6, where it explains chairperson, vice chairman, treasurer, and secretary. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with it. I just pointed it out because
Thank you
I'm
for
not
doing that.
that now.
Great,
These aren't in place now.
no,
So we can cross that bridge when it comes to it.
okay.
But
I don't
I'm
think it's
fine
an
with
issue.
it. I just,
Okay, I don't
Yeah.
think it's an issue, but okay. So I would like a motion to approve the Sustainable Bethel Commission bylaws with the changes to be reviewed by Bethel's legal counsel.
I'll make that motion,
Thank you.
but I don't remember all the words.
Well, that's fine. It'll get circulated again. Do I hear a second? Yeah, like you guys on the screen can second things too.
I will second.
Oh, awesome.
Woo-hoo!
Yay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Excellent. That's great. Thank you so much. Okay. So that goes to legal counsel. All right, great. We already talked about a little bit about the funding, what's available so far. We don't really have big plans for that yet, but it is available. What I thought of, and then Sustainable Connecticut certification, we don't really have to have a conversation about that because I just put that on the agenda because that's something that's gonna come up every month. Same thing with commissioner reports. When, you all step up in 2023, you'll, just report out every month, which is, just typical. I thought what makes sense, and you guys can let me know, for a January meeting, we would just have a workshop related to the draft that I gave you, related to the strategic plan. That would kind of pretty much be our meeting, so we can talk it out.
Talk out what sections we're each taking. What do you mean by talk out?
Well, I gave you a grid, like a little spreadsheet here, and then I sent it through a Google Doc on the Google Drive. I put this together as a draft. This is for 2023. These are the goals, objectives, activities related to Sustainable Connecticut. When I looked at it, everything that Bethel's done, or that Bethel Land Trust, or people have done, then I thought, okay, that could be translated into, points, right? Or it could be a sustainable event, or it could be something else. These were just
Sent
my
this email?
thoughts.
I assume I got it. I looked at something.
You can keep my copy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
are
There's
these
more on the back
are
of
these
the first
also
page.
based on what the commissioners
Thanks, thank you,
3 pages.
thank you very much.
Yes, some of
in
them
the
are.
beginning where we all said
Yeah.
these were our top
I
three?
pulled,
Yeah.
yeah, I pulled some of that. I pulled my notes from conversations with Janice and David and Beth and
Oh, yeah,
BLT
yeah,
and everybody that I've met with, and I kind of, again, my notes, my summary. You guys need to look at this. Again, I sent it through a Google Doc. You can make changes there, or we can talk about it next month. I thought it
Yeah.
would just make sense if we sat down during our meeting, we'll, you know, schedule.
I did look at this and I noticed that things like culture and education weren't on it.
Well, it is under thriving local economies.
Here-
That is so if you look at the document, just
Yeah.
let me tell you my thought process. This is for certification. The first one is required by Sustainable Connecticut, which is optimized for equity.
Right.
And that's something we'll talk about.
Right,
We don't have to get into it now, and maybe we don't get into the whole thing next month either, because that's gonna require an equity coach, and having Sustainable Connecticut will create that partnership. The thriving local economies, that is related to what Janice does. Then you go down a little further, well steward, and these are the major categories in Sustainable Connecticut. Well stewarded land and natural resources. Well, that's really related to everything that Bethel Land Trust is doing and coordinating and collaborating all over the place with open space. And I mean, they put, for some reason, Sustainable Connecticut put low impact development inside that category. Vibrant and creative cultural ecosystems. Do you see it
Where's
there in
that?
goal 4? Goal 4. 4.
yeah, I'm looking. Map tourism, support arts and creative
No,
culture.
see, goal 4. And again,
4-2,
right, so these are the major goals, and on the side where I pulled those subcategories in the action, the Sustainable Connecticut action area.
yeah,
If you think there's something else that under this major category that makes more sense, that's fine, we can talk about it next month. I'm okay with that.
well, this is very broad, support arts and creative culture. It depends how you interpret that.
Well, then
Well,
you
they give you
go
an
back
exa-
to that
Right,
main thing that we got our first day, and then you would look into it
right,
and pull information
I've
from it.
got that,
So what I'm trying to
Right.
ask you.
So they all fall under different categories.
right,
And it's on the website too, so you
although I don't
So
see
this is her
anything in
summary
terms
of
of.
that.
again, my
She's
thoughts.
just making suggestions.
She's just doing
Okay.
like a summary.
Again, I'm not the be
Okay,
all end all
this
here.
is not a final written.
Oh gosh, no,
Okay,
that's
see,
why we're
I
gonna.
took this as, this is what you've come up with, what's been decided by us.
No, it says draft
No,
on top.
no, you guys
Well,
have
no,
this.
I know that
We've
part,
been
but-
talking a lot for a long time,
I know that part.
and I've been talking a lot for 3 months, so, yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So,
sorry.
I'm just getting clarification on when we show up on January 18th for the strategic planning of this document and the original document, do you want us to have an idea of the section that we might want to take ownership in? What would you like?
Yeah,
our
okay,
framework
so
to be?
thank you for bringing that up, because yes, so again, look at all this, again, my thoughts, my brain. But yeah, we all have to, all the commissioners need to step up. It's not just one part, it could be 2, and
Right.
some of these are, the town's already done, like I say this, what is the one that, map tourism for, no, there was one related to public works. Report materials management data and reduction. That's Eric giving us the data reported to HRA. That is not a big, heavy lift. So I think what makes sense is, if you want to read through this, go on the website, pull the actions. Under each of these is an explanation of what has to be done, what they determine to get the points. This is a real, rough draft. So yes, look at this. If there's something that is interesting to you, and it doesn't have to be everything, at all. And it could be something else,
Can you, I just want to
Go
clarify
ahead.
for everybody too. Initially, the paperwork and the process was not going to be done by us. It was going to be done by the resources that the town had provided. That is no longer the case, correct?
Correct.
So let's just say I want to take goal 2, objective 2.1, subcategory 2.3. I'm going to go to the sustainable website. I'm going to find out all the qualifications that are needed, and I'm going to complete that paperwork, and then I give that to who?
We're gonna have to coordinate all of that with Sustainable Connecticut. To start this process, the reason I want to have the workshop is because I wanna have an idea so everybody can get motivated and we can start doing stuff. But I want to be able to coordinate with Sustainable Connecticut and have an assigned equity coach. Because the first thing that we have to do is this optimize for equity.
Yeah, but
Right.
I think it's just like even more granular. It's like, where does it go? Does it go to the town then, since the town's not doing it? Or does it just go directly to Sustainable and we
I
upload
don't
the
think we want it
documents?
to go directly to Sustainable at the beginning.
Oh.
There's within the process, there's the flexibility and before everything is submitted, finished and submitted totally 100%, there's different milestones. Where you can go back and forth and change it and make sure that it's done correctly. And that usually is done with that equity coach.
But how does that, with the equity?
Yeah, so they're,
So are they submitting all that? Like,
no,
we bring them-
we're submitting it, but they're helping us to get all of the pieces together. It's a yes, it is a huge undertaking, and the towns and the nonprofits who I've spoken to over the last couple of months, that's kind of, the resources that Sustainable Connecticut provides is really important, that we take advantage of that. Because
So we're
they're
really-
going to hold our hand
Yep.
and walk us, and again, it could be that we submit it, let's say, I'm just gonna make this up, you and I are click, 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 click. Or it has to go to the first selectman's office, right? Or we, at some point, maybe are allowed to engage Donna to do this, right?
Well, I think that's the clarification, is
Right.
that Donna's no longer allowed to do what Dee was
No.
supposed to be doing, right?
No.
And that was part of helping fill out these applications as we
As of,
got
but that may
more up and
change.
running.
I mean, right, there's.
Right, so as I understand it, or I was told, that my job is to come and just take the minutes.
Okay.
That's, I don't know the process of it being, changed or adjusted in some way. I really don't.
Right,
Yeah, but for now, if there's a form to fill out, we're just gonna fill it out. Whoever takes on a project, we're gonna fill it out. I know that we all have capabilities of uploading our documents to Sustainable website for storage. So we can do that, we don't have to bring it to a meeting or bring it to the town.
No, I think that would, no.
Okay,
No, and again, there's a lot of overlap here, because some of this, all of it requires public engagement and outreach. So a lot of these are like intertwined also. And I think that will require some collaboration maybe between commissioners.
Right, but how are we gonna know? Like,
But I think that's like really important.
yes.
I mean, I'm trying to kind of gauge how much I should input and but I really think that it's important to streamline the
Yes.
process.
Yep.
Because everybody is like, I get the question. So once you've done your job as, the leader of a project, you have things to do, you have application forms and all these things to do. What happens after that? Who's the person that it all goes to then, like the liaison?
Yeah, we need a gatekeeper.
Right.
And we need one
A
person, I
liaison.
think, that submits things.
Right.
So that
So
they
keep
understand if
track.
I've been working really hard on something and it couples with something that you're doing, you're not doing double the work.
Sure.
I can easily say.
I agree, yeah.
So we need, within the 7 of us, we need like a gatekeeper that needs to gatekeep.
But before we get there, but you're all absolutely right, and that's why we're kind of forging our own path here. I wanna meet, I wanna see where everybody's interest is based on this, and this whole thing can change, and it can be that we have an event or whatever you all are interested in, as long as it fits into this umbrella. And then we'll start engaging the Sustainable Connecticut group.
Is the expectation that on the 18th, when we decide areas, we will decide areas that we are taking ownership of? And then on the 19th, we can start
I think,
foraging for information, or are we gonna have like
I
another
think
meeting about a
if-
meeting?
No, I'm not into, less meetings are better. No, yeah, you can start forging, for
How-
sure,
how
but
can
what
we-
what needs to happen is we need to get assigned an equity coach,
Sure.
which I will help with that. That's part of what my job is.
I understand that that part needs to be completed first, but in the interest of time and continued action, if Peter's already got something going on and he wants to start on his portion, can he do that?
Oh, absolutely. So
Even though
let's
we can't
say,
submit it
let's
yet.
say I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff here that somebody can go talk to Janice, or somebody can go talk to Bethel
Right.
and David, and start pulling the information. If you go on the website and you pull the actions down, and it'll say, well, you only need this data. They have most of that stuff already done.
Right, so
So
I
we can
think that's
start
what,
doing that component of it without having to enter it into any application, because we really need to
I think that's what
connect
Tori's
with,
asking.
with Sustainable Connecticut. But yes, so the short answer is yes, forge ahead, please.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
So on the 18th, we should all come prepared with a few
Areas of interest.
Yeah,
areas of interest that
Yeah.
we're willing to take ownership of.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all.
And I think the optimize for equity, that's gonna be more of that will take a little bit of doing, I think. But I think a lot of it's already been done, everything I read about, but anyway.
I think, and I don't wanna add more onto your plate, but just to say, because you already have a mindset of kind of how this works and you've talked to so many people. Is there a way that after this meeting you can send like in anticipation of that? Can you say like section 2 and section 7 are the same? Like the same people that we need to go to? Does that make sense, what I'm trying to
So
say?
I actually mapped that out already, as we've been having conversations, like, I already know that most of, 2.3 to 2.5, Janice is gonna be our contact for. I know that, 3.8 to 310
Mhm.
is going to be a combination of Janice and planning and zoning, right? So, I mean, Janice is a bulk of it, but
Poor Janice.
yeah.
But
But there are other ones, like Eric will
Literally can
be,
just go like this
Right.
and pull it out.
It's like
Eric
Eric
will
that I
be-
don't,
Right.
yeah.
so he's Department of Transportation,
And Eric is
Public Works, sorry.
Yes,
So which includes transportation.
Right.
For Bethel,
yes.
sorry. So he would be the one that we would go to for, section, where did I just have it?
It's like 7 or something. I don't know.
He's,
Yeah.
well, it's more of like facilities management
Mhm.
and grounds and maintenance, like he would also be a resource for those things. So it is kind of mapped out, and that plan, the POCD that
Yes.
David was talking about, I thought that last section, section 9 that he mentioned was fantastic, because those resources and those acronyms of all those different companies
Yes,
are exactly what we need
right.
to be able to go to start these.
I read that on the town site like a year or so ago, so I'm well versed in that.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
great document, it really is, that
Yeah.
POCD, yeah.
Just for my better understanding, is this the pool of information that everybody's gonna pull from to figure out what they're gonna be doing? Is this like the suggested?
These are my
Okay,
suggestions.
gotcha. Okay.
But if they're gonna go back, they're gonna read this, they're gonna read all the other action items related to Sustainable Connecticut, and then we're gonna talk about it.
Donna may not have ever seen this though.
That document,
Oh,
yeah.
that document.
It's like a 35-page
Oh, right.
Oh, I see.
doc-
One of us
document.
can-
This
we
is
can send her an
produced
email.
by
Okay.
Sustainable
No, but I
CT.
can-
I just have the, what?
Right.
No, yeah,
No,
this
this
is
is just
different, like,
Oh, okay,
So
got it.
Donna, I will, you can see it online.
Okay.
I will send you the link and because all of that is posted online.
Oh, I see.
And that was given to us
it's like
in
a
May.
15-20 page
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
document.
Okay,
they
got it.
printed the whole thing out from the website,
Right.
but I'll just send you the link.
Sure,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
So this is the whole Sustainable CT action worksheet.
Right.
And then if you access it online, it has live links in it that can
Mhm.
take you. Did you get Dee's sign in for the Sustainable website?
I don't think she has it, but the town has it. I have it. I'm able to get in.
No, I know that, but
Yeah, you should probably have access to that.
Well, I mean, just as a sidebar situation information, as you guys know, I just started working here. So I don't wanna step out of bounds, or I'm still
Oh, right, cause if you go print
tiptoeing.
this, that's gonna go into a half an hour of time.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean.
I'll get yelled at,
No,
because I already got reprimanded.
No,
I'm like,
that's not
wait,
what I
what?
mean. That's not what I mean. I mean, just like for it within the committee and what I need to
Yeah.
do, what I,
What your
what I,
role and
exactly,
responsibilities are,
exactly.
yes.
But I just wanna put it out there that if you guys, as I'm learning who's who and what office, which office is what, because I'm predominantly in the Public Works Department right now, but I get skipped around quite a bit. So, you know, I touch base with different people, so if you have a question that I can answer, then I'm more than happy to, you know, just within my
Yeah,
realm.
yeah.
No, you've been helpful, you've been helpful
Whatever.
that way, because since you are bouncing around, you can just take things around, so that also is very helpful.
Yeah, if there's something like physical that I need to like
Mhm.
pass, you know,
She
whatever.
may end up being somebody that we go get a document from.
Right,
Right,
is what she
right,
said.
yeah, you
Yeah,
know.
so,
No, Donna wants to be helpful,
I mean.
but we're all
if I
working
can-
within this, you know, structure, right?
Yeah. But that would, I would assume, I would imagine that the master worksheet that we are all referencing, you know, with these categories and these points, that came from Sustainable CT, so it's not
Okay.
something that we came up with.
Got it.
Something that we have to follow, right? If we check off their boxes and we accumulate those points, then we get that certification.
Alright.
It just might be helpful for you to see it since we all
Right,
keep
yeah, I'll send it
referencing
to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
yeah.
what I referenced here is, I took it from there, I took it from conversations we had at the beginning, what the commissioner's interests were. I took it from conversations that I had with Bethel Land Trust, with the Bethel, with the Housatonic Resource Recovery. So different groups, I kind of pulled all this together. Since I believe, and the Board of Ed, I had conversations with them, that most of this is available.
Okay. Sounds good.
Did anyone ever get the report that Bill mentioned, the energy conservation report? Because we were told that we were gonna get a copy of that report, and
He might have sent that to me, but you know, I think it's,
did that ever?
if I find it, I will give it to you, how's that?
Okay. I just think that'll be helpful in moving forward with some of the action item plans.
It was, if I recall, because he sent that, oh my God, that must have been like right after we met the first time. It's a huge document, and it goes into
That was a
a
couple.
lot of detail related to energy consumption and buildings and all that kind of stuff. But it was interesting that they, you know, they did have a summary.
Right, because in there, that would help us figure out what's already been done, that we can apply
Yeah.
to these.
Well, the other thing is like the sustainable event, the Heat Smart, all of that stuff that they've done. And then again, there's money left over, there's $3,000 left over, so we spoke about expanding that program. That could be something that's interesting to somebody, because there's money available to do that. And also in the bottle bill, and there's, although each of those grants, there are parameters that we have to follow, there is an opportunity to hire part-time assistants to help with outreach and putting stuff together. So we just have to kind of figure that out and how to move forward and with those resources.
Okay.
Is there anything else? Anything else from the screen? Is the baby still sleeping?
Yes.
So any comments from any of you on the screen? Peter, Suni, Katie?
No,
Are you all good with this?
yep,
All right, so we're gonna meet next month. We are gonna have a workshop. If you can make it in person, that would be really great, because then we can all kind of interact with each other. But we'll see how that goes, right? I think that's it. Anybody else? No? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
motion
don't
to
wanna
adjourn.
Oh, I have, well, wait, oh.
Vote,
If anybody
Wait,
have,
wait. There was one more thing
uh-oh,
on the other business section. So there was a conversation that we had, we start our meetings at 7 o'clock. Is there, and is there any way that we can start it, let's say at 6:30?
Or 6.
6:30 maybe. It's a little tough. I've adapted to 7 for all of my commission meetings.
Any comments on that?
I mean, I have to say, most of the town meetings start at 7.
Yep, no, I
I know
my own
the zoning board of
experience.
appeals starts at 7. I think, you know,
Fire commission.
Peter, coming up, I mean, I can't tell you, my days are different. I could be out of showing and not be able to make the meeting.
Right,
But that's true of 7 o'clock too.
Sure. Anytime.
Right, because you have an open schedule when you're in your business.
Yes. So, but in general, I know 6 is hard. It's dinner time for a lot of
Yep.
people. They're still fighting traffic, trying to get home.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's true if you're coming in, not necessarily true if you're online.
so when I was staff to several commissions and authorities, we started at 7 as well. It was very rare we started before, and the reason I was given is eventually, these are public meetings, so eventually the public may attend our meetings, right?
Mhm.
And that was the main reason why they started at 7, is to allow the public to get home and to attend, even if it's online.
Okay,
that-
well, I may have to try online
that works.
because I get night blindness and when you're retired, it's a whole different thing. I'm up at 6:30 in the morning and 7 o'clock in the evening is like another
I'm up
day.
at 5.
I have 6:30, what's
You
that?
sleep in late, huh?
I'm up at 5, I don't know.
Right.
But when you're, let me tell you, when you're retired, 6:30 is early.
Sleeping in is
Yeah,
6:30.
It's a whole different.
Right.
I'm so excited.
You
Wish
know,
I
I
could
have to
sleep
leave a
till
note
6:30.
for myself to come to this meeting because I don't know Wednesday from Tuesday to
I do
Monday.
too. I mean, there's a sticky note on my door that says meeting 7
Well, I
p.m.
get up and I don't know what day it is, literally.
Well,
I think that's a lot of us.
Yeah.
I don't think
Really?
I don't think you're allowed to just take that because you're retired. Sorry, I'm
Ah,
not gonna give you that one.
I work from home a lot, and I'm like, okay. And today I was
Every
talking
day's
to one of my
the same.
colleagues.
I have to walk out
Groundhog Day.
and check to see if I am properly dressed
Yeah. Did you bring a coat?
because I work from home. I'm like, do I have my
Right?
Yeah,
slipper,
but
do
I
I have
have
my
to tell
slippers
you,
on again?
This whole work from home thing is
Okay,
relatively
wait, do I
new.
have a motion to adjourn, so we're not
I
like,
motion to adjourn.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Happy holidays, happy
Thank you all.
Hanukkah.
Happy holidays.
This whole
Really
working from home,
appreciate it.
when I grew up and worked, nobody worked from home. No such thing as working from home.
Because there wasn't any technology.
I work from
I
home.
know, but
I mean,
that's
honestly, I work
you're
from my
right,
car,
but it's a
not from my
whole
home.
different world.
I eat more meals